What is going on, everybody? It's your boy John, and welcome back to Gearbox. So today, yes, we are back in the wonderful, the magnificent 2022 Toyota Mark 5 Supra, and we're going to talk about something pretty interesting, in my opinion. But first, doesn't get old. This thing, in case you're wondering, if you maybe don't have a Supra or you're looking at Supras or whatever, this thing does not hook until like fourth gear. I'm sure that could be changed with a different wheel and tire setup, but on stockies, she doesn't want to hook, and honestly, I'm okay with it. But to the topic of today's video, what I wanted to talk about is the idea of daily driving a Supra. Now, of course, you know, certain people have certain financial situations, or maybe they have the money, but they want to maybe buy a house, and so they can only afford one car or whatever. But ultimately, you still want to have a fun sports car, right? I would assume everyone watching this video either has a sweet sports car or they would like to own one day. And this is obviously a fairly attainable, relatively, decent option, I guess, for lack of a better term, for your sports car, right? Now, for those folks who might be looking at a Supra but only have the option of driving one car and, doing the true definition of daily in this car, might have some questions, comments, or concerns as it relates to the Mark 5 Supra platform. So I am here to do all of the heavy lifting for you and answer some questions you may have about daily driving your 2020, to 2024 Mark 5 Supra. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So to start off this list, what I want to do is talk about the pros of this car first, and then talk about the cons. As I mentioned in the love and hate list of this car, of course this car is amazing, and I would not have bought it if I didn't think so. But with every car, with every vehicle, really with every purchase you make, there are some good things and there are some bad things. So I want to focus on the good first, and then we could get into maybe the not so good things. So starting off the list of pros for the Supra platform here, we're going to talk about just the fact that this car is absolutely sick. Okay, this car is awesome. It's a new car. It, new-ish. It's not, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. But because of that, we have all of the infotainment and the fun driving pieces that we like to have as creature comforts for driving a car. And this is going to be a great pro for you if you like to have some serious integration with technology, with the infotainment system. If you want to have a nice, comfortable seating, posture and lumbar support and adjustable bolstering, all of that's fine and dandy, but this car is just sick, okay? You buy this car, it's cool. People who see you on the road, people who see you in a parking lot, they think it's cool, and it is. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But number one is just the fact that you're not settling for an okay car, right? This car is awesome. It's a perfectly engineered car, in my opinion. So that's definitely going to be number one. Of course, you can make changes if you wish. But in reality, this car should give you everything you need as far as a sports car platform should give you. Moving on to the number 2 pro on this list, we're going to talk about something that's not typically discussed as it relates to sports cars. And yes, is it a little bit of a oxymoron or whatever to talk about this? Yes, but it is something to consider. Anyway, number 2, we are talking about fuel efficiency. Yeah, I wouldn't think I would be saying this either while driving this car. However, when you look at the specs, and keep in mind, this is the 3.0 Premium, so this is a inline 6-cylinder with a turbocharger. The fuel efficiency is actually pretty damn good as far as I'm concerned. I believe the numbers come out to be 22 miles per gallon in the city and 30 mpg on the highway, averaging out to about 27, 28 miles per gallon. Now, why is that important? Well, if you're going to be daily driving your car, especially if this is your only car, like I would consider I daily drive this car because I split time between the F-150 and the Supra. But especially if this is the only car that you own, you don't want to be tearing through gas. Well, especially because it takes 93, okay? Times are tough, gas prices are not cheap, and when you are forced to deal with 93 octane gas prices, that becomes a problem very quick if your car is sub 20 mpg combined. This car, however, you do not have that issue, and that is a great thing. Now, it would be very ignorant of me to assume that most people are going to keep this car stock and not tune it and not turn up fueling and whatever, and therefore dropping fuel efficiency. But out of the box, this car's pretty damn good. I could definitely see some people leaving it stock or stock-ish and therefore not impacting fuel efficiency. So definitely for number 2, talking about fuel efficiency has to be thrown in there as far as a daily driver is concerned. And now we'll get on to the third point I want to make in the pros category. On to the number 3 spot on the pros list, I want to talk about something that when I originally bought this car, I didn't think it was maybe as important as I've come to learn that it is, and that is this button right here. That is driving modes. As you can see, based on the tack, we are in sport mode right now. I would say the vast majority of the time, I'm in sport mode. But maybe if I'm doing some highway cruising or driving longer distances, I'll go ahead, hit this button, bring it into eco mode or normal mode, and then of course hit the automatic on off so it doesn't do that shit anymore. But really the point in me saying all of this is you have the ability to really fine tune how you're using the car. If you want to go for a very chill, easy cruise in comfort mode or normal mode, whatever it's called, you can do that. But the second that you want to rip on it and, take this car to its full potential as to why it was engineered in the first place, it's literally the click of a button. And furthermore, on that point, you can even go into the infotainment and go into driving setups and even go as far as to customize it to which key you have in the car and customize it the exact way that you want it to be. So if you want to go into sport mode and not have the loud exhaust, you can do that. If you want to go into sport mode and keep everything the same, but you want the suspension to be a little more forgiving, you can do that. And that's really a plus as far as I'm concerned with this car. My old WRX, I loved it to death, but I knew that the second I was getting in that car, she wants to go. You have to rev her out high. Obviously, you have a 6-speed manual, so there's no going around that, and that's the other thing. Right now, I'm driving in automatic mode. If I want to switch it into paddles, I throw this bastard to the left, and there we go. So anyway, you get the best of both worlds with this car, and yeah, that's becoming more and more, normal, I guess. But, with a car like this, it is nice to have the option, and I've taken advantage of it more times than probably I care to admit. But anyway, point number 3 for sure is going to be the driving modes. I think it's a great aspect of this car that maybe gets overlooked by some or not even considered by others. Now that we've talked about all the good things relating to the Mark V Supra, now it's time to talk about some things that are maybe less than desirable, okay? And to start off the cons list with number one, we're gonna talk about the space and the overall size of this vehicle. This is not a large car, okay, by any stretch. Now keep in mind, I am 6'3", I am 250 pounds. I operate in this car just fine. But if you look at my driving position right here, you can see how narrow it is on the legs. Obviously, we have a nice big transmission tunnel right here, and of course the passenger side here. But then you start talking about the roof line or whatever. And so from a comfortability aspect in this car, doing long road trips or having to get in and out of this car every single time you want to drive somewhere might be something you want to consider. I personally don't have a problem with it. It's definitely tight and small, but I think the thing that allows me to accept that a little bit more is the fact that I know if I want a big, spacious environment vehicle to drive, I'll just hop in the truck. So if this is going to be your only car, definitely take it for a test drive or multiple test drives and really make sure you love it before buying it, because the size is definitely an aspect that you cannot change about this car. Moving on to the number 2 spot on the cons list, kind of similar to number 1, but we're going to talk about the cargo space in this car. And yeah, I'm driving. I don't exactly have the best ability to show you everything right now, but let's just talk through it. There's barely a door card to put anything down here. There's no center console. That little tray is supposed to be wireless charging, but it sucks. Technically you can put stuff there, but it's not super deep, so shit will fall out if you're driving even somewhat aggressively. The glove compartment down there is rather small, and the trunk, as I'm sure you guys know, is pretty narrow and relatively large for what it is. But once again, if you're road tripping, if you're carrying a bunch of shit, whether it's for your job or one reason or another, this car is not going to be the best fit for you, and that's okay. That's why I'm making this video, to really make sure that you might think you love it, but until you're living with it and driving with it every single day, these are things that you might not know or think about. So cargo space is definitely going to be number 2. The lack of a center console, in my opinion, is the biggest issue as far as cargo goes. Everything else is fine, but just put a center console. It can't be that hard. Anyway, that's number 2. On to number 3. For the number 3 spot on the cons list, we are going to talk about something that I don't think I've talked about yet, but it's becoming more and more apparent to me as time goes on, and that is going to be the fact that I'm pretty certain that this fuel tank holds no more than like 7, there's a Ferrari that just passed us, and don't typically see Ferraris where I live. Anyway, this fuel tank cannot hold more than like 7 gallons of fuel. I'm exaggerating, but I'm not exaggerating. She's small, okay? Look at the trip. I reset my trip every time I fill up. We're at 53.3 miles, and we have 2 bars gone on the fuel indicator. That's another thing. I think the fuel indicator sucks. Like, it looks good, but it's not very informative, I guess. But I haven't been driving this car very hard at all. Like, sure, sometimes off a stoplight or whatever, I will gun it a little bit. I try to keep the car higher up in revs just because it sounds better, but I'm not sitting here ripping the piss out of it. And I feel like if I were to drive this car every day, I would probably need to fill up probably twice a week. And I live 7 miles from my work, okay? Like, it's not a lot. So, once again, if you hate going to the gas station for whatever reason, or you're taking long road trips, longer than, let's call it 200 miles, you are going to be at the gas station way more than you probably thought you were in the first place, and that's annoying as shit. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I hate filling up at a gas station on a road trip. It's like, If I can make it on a tank, I'm making it on a tank, and that will be, the whole filling up thing will be a future me problem. This car, you can't make it a future you problem because you will be on the shoulder of a highway. Like, point blank period. I don't know. Maybe that bugs me more than it bugs most, but it's something to consider because it could be a royal pain in the ass if you're doing a lot of driving with your daily driver, so on and so forth. I don't have to keep saying it. Let's get on to the fourth and final con. And for the fourth point of the cons list of the Mark V Supra, we're talking about something that was kind of addressed in the first point of the pros, but it's a double-edged sword. And that is the fact that this car is sick. And this car will get you so much attention. And you guys probably know where I'm going with this. This car sticks out like a sore thumb in a good way. It is a good-looking car, but it is a very fast car. It is a very dangerous car. I'm telling you, I'm not condoning speeding in any way, shape, or form, but there's no doubt in my mind, guys, that I will get a speeding ticket. And whether me speeding is like the most egregious speeding ever, or the fact that I'm over the speed limit just a little bit, but this car just says, "Officer, please come pull me over," that's something you're gonna have to deal with. And that is a brutal reality of this car, is that you are going to draw attention. The vast majority of it will be good, but some of it's going to be bad, and you just got to be ready for it. We'll leave it there. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you found this video informative and helpful in your decision, please give this video a big fat thumbs up. If you do have any other questions, comments, or concerns regarding the Mark V Supra, drop them in the comment section down below. I've now had this car for almost a month now, and driven the piss out of it since I got it. So I'm starting to, I guess, realize all the bits and pieces that are the Mark V Supra. Drop them in the comments down below. Let's be vocal, have a nice conversation, and maybe meet a friend or two, right? And without further ado, as always, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. You know the drill. And until next time, peace.